God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardship as a pathway to peace, taking, as Jesus did, this sinful world as it is, not as I would have it, trusting that you will make all things right, if I surrender to your will, so that I may be reasonably happy in this life, and supremely happy with you forever in the next. Amen.
How many of you ever read the long form?
Never.
Never. No.
Never have.
Can we get some printouts?
That's part of the original sentence, serenity prayer. Now, it was written anonymously, so we have no idea where it came from, but it predated Alcoholics Anonymous. All right. Taking the steps. What's it mean to take the 12 steps?
Working them.
It means to receive. To receive something. To take something is to receive something. What we're going to receive is some knowledge that's going to move us along, not just intellectually, but going to move us along spiritually. As we kind of finished up with last week, I had somebody read that 12th step. Having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these 12 steps. Not just one of the results, but the result. There's only one result promised in the 12th book. There's lots of promises, but there's only one promise as it relates to these steps. That's to have our spirit awakened. Our spirit needs to be awakened. If our spirit is awakened, we can operate out of that rather than out of our intellect. We don't have to worry about, is it right or is it wrong? Is it good for me or is it bad for me? Is it what the PO wants or is it what I want? Am I going to get caught or am I not going to get caught? Is it the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do? It has nothing to do with that. Once our spirit is awoken, we have that spiritual awakening, then we're going to operate out of the Spirit. The Spirit's going to tell us which way to go. I've asked some of you guys this question in the last week. When you go out that front door in the morning, does God want you to go to the left or want you to go to the right?
Right.
The answer is He doesn't care. He just wants you to be aware that He's with you no matter which way you go. So if you're in that spirit, if you're in that awareness of the presence of God and the power that's available to you, when you go to the left, if you encounter some difficulty, He'll either turn you around or He'll give you the sufficient power to resist the temptation that is in front of you. If you turn to the right and it's the wrong way, or there's some temptation, or there's some danger or something, He's going to give you, if you're in the Spirit, the sufficient amount of power to resist that temptation or to make a course correction, if you will. Lubens, come sit up front, over here in the second row. Apparently some of you fellows are missing what you're here for. And I'm not going to invest my time and energy in you men if you're not willing to invest time and energy in what we put down here, what we teach. Simple as that. You're going to blow me out mistakes or accept them. That's part of life, is making mistakes. But consciously making mistakes and blowing off and making light of what we teach around here, I ain't going to tolerate it. I'd rather deal with 6 of you who're serious about having your life changed spiritually than deal with 600 of you. Doesn't make any sense. Now, as we talked about last week, of the first 260 men and a couple of women that attempted to get sober, some 93% of them died sober. 93% out of 260, the original. Wow. Out of 250 people, less than a handful, a couple of dozen at the very most, died drunk. The rest of them all died sober. Phenomenal numbers, aren't they? That ought to impress anybody. It impressed me the first time I heard it. What is it about what they were doing that had such a high success rate? They were focusing in on people having their spirits awakened. They weren't focused in on working the steps. There weren't any steps to work. Realize that? They weren't focused on going into meetings every night and telling war stories. They were taking guys that were 3 and 4 days sober, and they were going into the hospitals and the bars and the alleys, and they were telling other drunks, hey, God's changed my life. You don't have to drink anymore if you don't want to, but you're going to have to do certain things. And they laid out some concepts which ended up being the 12 steps in an expanded form. And each one of these steps has an attribute tagged to it. The first step is honesty. Honesty. Now some of you guys haven't even taken the first step yet. Oh, you've mouthed the words and you've written all the things out and answered all the questions we've asked. But have you really been honest? Why are you here? Why are you here? And we're going to start that tonight with the first step. Why are you here?
Why am I here?
Why are you here?
Get clean and sober.
That's bullshit. Why are you here?
My life was unmanageable.
Part of it. Why are you here? Better yourself. You can't do it. Why are you here?
So trying to get the help from somebody that knows better than I do how to change my life.
Any of you ever heard the word powerlessness?
Amen.
You're here because you're powerless. Now, as a result of being powerless, you may get to a point where you realize you need some help. You may realize you can't better yourself. I don't care how much power you think you got. You can't better yourself. That's God's business. Does that make sense? Is it starting to gel a little bit? That we're not here just to give shelter and to feed and to give teaching and to give prayer and counsel and all those kind of things. We're here to give you life itself, or to facilitate the one who gives you life. That's a better way of putting it. And you're not going to be able to work at it. No matter how hard you work at this program, you're not going to get it. Gee, why even try? Because God's got a better plan for you. That's why. It's God's plan. It's not my plan. It's not these steps that are going to do anything for you. It's these steps, and what we do around here is going to facilitate God changing your life. But if you're not open and God doesn't move in your life, you ain't going to change. It ain't going to change. I'll guarantee you, I don't know how many times I got out of jail and I made 1,000,001 promises to anybody and everybody. And after a period of time, every time, I could guarantee you one thing. I was going to spring load back to that drink position again. It's almost like that. That's my lot in life. Matter of fact, I said that many times. This is the way I am. My daddy was a drunk. My grandpa was a drunk. My great-grandpa was a drunk. Both sides of the family. Most of my aunts and uncles were drunks. It's just the way it is. I got it in my genes. This is a genetic predisposition that I'm gonna die a drunk. I know that. It's just a matter of trying to control it, or trying not to pay the consequence when I did drink. And I went to great lengths, and so did you. And I didn't even realize what my problem was. What's your problem? Same as mine. You're powerless. You don't have the power. You don't have the sufficient power in you to resist that next drink. And I don't have that power in me to resist that next drink. But I know who does have the power. And I know how he works today. So in essence, I do have that power, but it's not my power. It's kind of like, how many miracles could Jesus perform without the Father? None. Not a one. He did nothing that the Father didn't show him or direct him or teach him. And he was totally dependent upon the Father one day at a time. Totally dependent. That's the only way I can stay sober. One day at a time, totally dependent upon the Father. If I ever get to thinking that I'm sober because I learned some cute methodology, or I've been to enough meetings, or I got the right sponsor, or I got the right this or right that, or I've got the right prayer schedule, or whatever it might be, I'm in trouble. because it is not dependent upon me. Thank God my sobriety is not dependent upon me. So what we need to do is we need to engage this relationship that's being offered to us with God so that we can have that spiritual awakening, so that the power sufficient enough to maintain sobriety for the rest of the day is available to me. And it's there. And I can access it and I can use it. And my life can be bettered as a result of it. How many of you think you can stay sober on religious rules? Good rules. Not one of them. You wouldn't be here if you could. Most of you have a religious background. Religion don't do it. How many of you have done enough time to know that you can't follow the rules even under the threat of doing more time? You all know it didn't work. The only thing that's going to help us is that power greater than ourselves. Go to the next slide if you would. This program is about as simple as a guy can get. It's I'm going to give it to you in phases. There's phases to this program. There's 4 simple phases. The first phase is step 1. That's an admission. 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 What's your problem?
Me.
You're powerless. Thank you. It's your powerlessness. That's your position. That's the admission that we need to have. Not admit that I have a problem, but admit that I've got a problem called powerlessness that I can't do anything about. Now, the Christians would call it a sin problem. I've got a bridge to cross that without Christ, I can't make that cross from here to where God would have me to be without Jesus Christ. So we need to bridge from where I'm at in the flesh into the spirit. That's the 12 steps. It's a bridge to get me from here where I'm thinking selfish and self-centered and we're full of lies and deceit and debauchery and all of those things. I need to get from there to where I'm in a right relationship with God, where He's controlling my mind and my thinking and my decision making. Now, He's promised He wouldn't bail out on me and He would help me do that, or He would do that for me if I would just get out of the way. But I got this thing called flesh that wants to slide back in there and take back, AA calls it, take back my will. So the first thing is admitting we got a problem. And what's your problem?
Powerlessness.
Powerlessness. Powerlessness. Your problem's not booze. Your problem's not drugs. Your problem's not you ain't got the right job. Your problem's not you're too short or you're too tall or you're too fast or you're too slow. Your problem is you're powerless. What do we all have in common in here?
We're all powerless
No
together.
matter how much of our own power we exerted towards trying to stay clean and sober, we couldn't do it. We didn't wake up in the morning making a decision to get drunk and to get drunk again by noon and to break in somebody's house or somebody's car by dark and to end up in jail by midnight. We didn't make those kind of decisions. Here's what my decision-making process looked like. I'd get up in the morning and I'd say, I'm going to decide, no, I'm not drinking today. And as quick as that come out of my mouth or off of my head, I'd say, well, I'm not going to drink before noon. And then that quick again, I'd say, well, I'm going to stop after 3. Well, I'm not going to drink until I get down the road. And usually for the days that I made those kind of decisions, that I wasn't going to drink at all, hell, I was in the bar before 6 o'clock. I had a 6-pack down before 7:30, and a 12-pack loaded up in the ice chest. By 8, 9 o'clock, we was on the job site. By noon, we was rolled up, and by 1 o'clock, we're back in the bar. And by 5 o'clock, I'm drunk, passed out, in a fight. By midnight, I'm either out with some tattooed sweetie, or I wasn't doing what I should have been doing, or I was hooked up again. And those are the good days. The days that I made the decision I wasn't going to drink at all. The days that I said, ah, dang, it's a 3-day weekend. We're going to have fun this weekend. I never made it the whole weekend. drank like an amateur, did we? Those 3 and 4 day holidays was to give her hell. That's what we did. Now, why would a guy who is normal in most every other aspect of his life, able to manage, why would I let myself get to that point if I wasn't powerless? And I throw a lot of my own power and a lot of techniques. How many of you have tried to drink slowly?
Never.
How many of you tried to drink faster?
Always.
Switch from scotch to brandy. Switch towns, switch jobs, switch wives, switch girlfriends. We tried all those things, didn't we? And why didn't they work? I tried my buddy's plan, I tried girls' plans, I tried bartenders, I tried judges and attorneys, I tried everything. And if one more thing would have worked, I'd have tried it. But I ran out of options until I run into myself and said, my problem is not booze. My problem is not that parole officer. My problem is not that judge. My problem is not even me. My problem is I don't have the sufficient power to resist that next drink. Take drugs, whatever you do. I was powerless. That's the first step. They asked me when I come in, do you think you have a drinking or drug problem? I want to ask all of you.
Yes.
Think you got a drinking or drug problem?
Yes.
Okay. Hold your hand up. You got a drinking or a drug problem? Oh,
I think I do.
That's your question?
What? How many don't think they have a drinking or a drug problem? Let's assume for a minute that you don't have a drinking or a drug problem. Let's assume for a minute you have a powerless problem. How many of you have a problem mustering up a sufficient amount of power to get through the day? How many of you used to live with that? So those of you that recognize that you're powerless, see, I'm still powerless. I don't have, power in my pocket. I don't have it. But I have it available to me in the Spirit. The problem is I can step out of the Spirit right into this flesh like that. So it's not taking my will back, it's acting out of character. What is my real nature? My real nature is a perfect nature of Jesus Christ, right?
Yes.
Okay. When I step out of that nature, do I have let me ask you this, do we have a dual nature to us? We have an old dog and a new dog, an old guy and a new guy? We don't. We have one, right? Then how is it that I step out of the old behavior, the powerlessness, and step into how do I step out of the power that I have and step into a powerless nature? Why is that?
Stop living in the flesh and live in the spirit.
Huh?
Stop living in the flesh and live in the spirit.
Okay, and what causes that?
Having separation from
Kind of, huh?
We were born in sin.
Yeah, but you're no longer a sinner. Your sin nature is destroyed, right? Now you have one nature. God's not schizophrenic. He doesn't have a one here and one here. He doesn't have a good guy and a bad guy living inside of you.
But anyone who's in Christ is a new creation. The old has gone away.
So, what is it that causes me to step out of that awareness that my problem is not drugs and alcohol? My problem is what?
You can focus on Jesus.
It's here. It's here. Now, I'm not telling you it's only here, but it's in the Bible says it's a heart condition, and by heart it means not the pumping heart or my spiritual heart. It's the center of essence that causes me to not only to come up with a thought, but to take action on that thought. It's the very essence of taking action on that fleshly desire.
Yeah. That's doing what you want to do.
That's doing what I want to do.
Your will.
What causes that?
Your own will. Now you're playing God. You're playing God.
Okay.
You want to fulfill your own desires.
That's yes.
Selfishness.
Selfishness.
Flesh.
Where's that come from?
Flesh.
The flesh? My skin?
The desire for the power. Desire for
It comes from your head. It comes from your own.
Desire says, please yourself. It is in
The Bible says it's indwelling sin. The Bible calls it indwelling sin. It's almost like, and next week, remind me, I'll bring about a 4-page slideshow to show you how this works. My nature before I got sober was yucky. I mean, it was, you know, all the sins of the flesh, and if you took a bunch of mud pies and you splattered me, I'd be pretty dark, okay? And then God killed me. He killed that old man. I became, who said new creature in Christ? I became a new creation. And this little slide will depict that I'm pure. I'm holy. I'm perfect. I have the nature of Jesus Christ. Now, something causes me to go back to that pig slop again and again. It doesn't make my whole nature dark, but if, let's say, if I tell a lie, boom, here comes this mud pie. I got a big one. I steal something, boom, here comes another one. I got a big one. I have a bad thought, boom, here comes another. Okay, have I changed at all? My external has. Why? Because from the outside, the indwelling sin is attacking me from the outside through my thought process, through my old behaviors, through my friends, through the world around me. I'm being corrupted. But the moment I recognize that that's not who I am, that's not my problem. My problem is I'm powerless to do anything about that. God steps in and I'm cleansed, ready to enter into the throne room of God, pure and holy. Now, some denominations tell you you got to go walk the aisle on the altar and you got to rent your cloth and you got to, you know, cry and beg God for forgiveness and all that stuff. The Bible doesn't say that. The Bible says when you turn back to the Father, you're cleansed. Now, as a result of being cleansed, then comes the process of thanking Him for forgiveness, not asking Him. Thank you, Jesus, that you showed up to remind me that I've already been taken care of. I don't have to beg and cry and do any of that stuff. Now, when we live in that kind of a spirit realm, with that kind of an understanding, the sobriety comes. We have the power. And the power is as simple as turning to Jesus, bridging that gap from a place where the flesh is beating me up, man. The world is tearing me up. My thoughts are going crazy. I'm one to drink. I'm one to fight. I'm one to do all this kind of stuff. That's my thoughts. Those are the attacks coming from the outside. Because the moment I say, Jesus, show up, guess what? Then I've got the power to resist all those things out there. It's not me. And it's not some magic words. There's power in the word Jesus, that's for sure. But it's not any manufactured prayer or manufactured routine or process that we go through. It's quite simply, because I am a child of God, I have the right to go to God and say, God, I need some help. And He shows up in His Spirit and says, I got it. Why are you worried? Why are you being tempted by that? Don't you know that you have the sufficient power in me and Him to resist that temptation? Why do you think your life is hopeless, Don? All you need to do is to turn to me. You don't have the answers for the attacks coming on in your life because you don't ask. And when you do ask, you're impatient. You want it to happen right now, and I've got a lesson I want to teach you. So be patient, John. I have you. I got you. But most of us go, I got it. I got it. Honda, I got it. Think you got a drinking or drug problem? Actually, our thinking tells us that we do. Our spirit tells us that we don't have, okay? You want to do anything about that problem? Sure. Who wants to stay in that thinking and in that lifestyle and that all that stuff that we were doing. None of us. I never wanted to. I never once said I'm gonna get drunk, fight some cops, get bailed out, go home, get in a beef with the old lady, knock her around, end up in jail again, end up in the bar, drunk again, lose my job. I never once made those kind of decisions. I told you what my decision process was like. But no matter whether I made that decision to try to stay sober or made a decision to say, screw it, this is just the lot I'm in, didn't make any difference. I ended up the same place. Here I am, drunk again. And there's worse things than being drunk, aren't there? Wanting to drink, but not having the ability to do it. Not having the ability to get that next drink. That'll drive you to do some crazy things, won't it? What do you think of most of these guys I see on the side of the road ask for money? I'll give it 8 out of 10 times, I'll give them money. Because I know what it's like to be desperate enough to try to take some guy's money. I've had the thought of busting that guy's house, take his TV or whatever it might be, because I need it. Knowing full well that the risk of him having a gun or me end up hurting him or going totally freaking crazy, the risk was there. I'd rather give a guy money and just hope and pray that that's his last drunk. Care what he uses it for, it's not my business. That's between him and his God. Now, not everybody agrees that that's the proper way to treat people like me. But I've been so angry and so thirsty and so scared and so needing to quiet this thing down that I was willing to go to great lengths at times to try to quiet that down. And I knew that booze worked. So, you got a problem, you want to do something about it, what are you willing to do?
Surrender.
What are you willing to do about it?
Be able to listen.
And what are you willing to do?
Anything?
There's the answer right there. Anything, whatever it takes. Willing to go to any length. Any length. Does that mean listen? Does that mean take direction? Does that mean write? Does that mean pray? It means all of those things. Whatever it takes. And as we go through these 12 steps, I'll share with you some of the struggles that I had each one of these steps along the way. Who mentioned surrender? Yeah. A guy like me don't surrender. No way. I never lost a fight in my life. He didn't believe that when I told him the other day. I dug out some pictures to show you. In 1978, I was Mr. T before there was a Mr. T. Long before they had this cage fighting shit, I was Mr. T before there was Mr. T. I bought a boxing ring in Yuma, Arizona. We were up in Prescott, Arizona. We brought it down to Yuma. We put on, we used to call them smokers in the Marine Corps. Boxing matches, 3 3-round matches. And I went through all weights, and then I think I was about 200 pounds. And I went all the way from cruiserweight down to an all-comers one whole summer. Never lost a fight. And then left out of the ring and would go into the bar and take on any of the guys over there. Just because it was, I didn't care whether we drank or we screwed or we fought. It didn't make it all fit together for me. Surrender? No way. No freaking way. I never gave in to anything in my life. My old man beat my ass, tried to make me cry from the time I was 8 years old. Never seen one tear. Never. Not on me. We don't surrender easy, do we? That's why we end up so far down. Because we ain't smart enough, or guess. I don't know. We got a resilience about us that our thinking has worked. Thinking has worked.
We think surrendering is a sign of weakness, but really when we're weak, that's where the strength comes.
When we're weak, the strength comes. So what do we need to surrender to? This higher power that comes into our life because we need this power. And that power has to be greater than ourselves. And as we go from 1, 2, and 3, we'll talk about that power greater than ourselves. How definitive and how finite that is. That understanding of God needs to be just so. And if we don't teach you the whole truth, give you the whole gospel here, and we let it be watered down by psychobabble AA, you're going to get 7 out of 100 at best people getting sober. And I'm not going to satisfy. I'm not satisfied with 7 out of 100 people go through here getting sober. I'm pushing more towards 93 out of 100, the way the original fathers did. All right, so when do you want to get well?
Right now.
Okay, how about
Yesterday.
you? Yesterday, that's the right answer. All right, so we got a problem, we know what it is, it's powerless, and we want to do something about it, right? Probably ain't got a clue. Some of you got some idea that what you're going to do about it is go to some more meetings, or get a different sponsor, or work the steps a little harder, or pray a little more, or incorporate a little more Bible study. Truth is, you don't know what it is that you need to do. But God will reveal it to you